Just gonna do a quick live. Well, maybe not too quick. I might be a little bit long with it, but a couple things are going on that is making me question whether or not I'll be able to support doing the whole snake breeding operation because still being new at it, and as a disabled vet with a wife and a kid, uh, I gotta think about things that can sometimes may be hard to deal with, and sometimes it might involve having to make sacrifices and do things that pretty much might mean either giving up or rethinking how I intend to do things. Uh, Here lately, we had a couple of pitfalls. Personally, we ended up losing one of the baby snakes, Miracle, due to an issue that can't afford to figure out, even though it may be something a little bit obvious. And here, about a week or so ago, I had to dump at least $1,000 into my vehicle because not only did it need to get inspected, but upon inspection, which it passed, I had to get a whole bunch of things replaced and fixed. I had to have a couple of OT sensors replaced, and I had to buy the sensors, and I had to pay a mechanic upwards of $150 per each piece to have them installed, totaling up towards like $350. And then I had to replace a CV axle because the boot closest to the transmission had become torn and lost all the grease in it. So the part itself cost me about like 80 something odd bucks. But that was another added expense because it was like the mechanic wanted to charge me either 360 odd dollars or 400 something odd dollars to replace that, even though there was no guarantee that they would be able to get it on in time because they had such a long queue of people coming in needing repairs and inspections. And after getting that done, I thought, well, luck couldn't get any worse, and now we are having some plumbing issues here. And I'm like, oh, can't catch a break. So, because living here in this house is the house belongs to my father-in-law, and he rents it to us, but there's no actual written rental agreements, just a spoken agreement between him and me and my brother-in-law. But because this has to deal with the house and certain structures of the house, this is a homeowner issue. So we're looking at like $950 to freaking just dismantle a toilet and then auger the hell out of the pipe to get rid of whatever blockage it's causing the issue, or $4,000 to $5,000 to have the main line redone because the pipes underneath are made of cast iron and they're underneath a footer and a slab foundation, which means a lot of earthwork and moving. Now, my father-in-law, I don't know what his finances are right now. He's definitely a little bit more well off than I am. He's got assets and investments, a whole bunch of stuff. That all really depends on how he wants to approach it. He either pays the helps us pay the fees to get the plumbing issue fixed, or he tries to find the cheap way. There's another way we can figure out the plumbing issues and everything. That's renting an auger from like a place like Home Depot or Lowe's or whatever have you, and doing it ourselves. But who knows? whether or not doing it ourselves will fix the problem or not. I don't know anymore. But right now, I don't get paid again through my VA and SSDI until another 2 weeks. And this issue with the plumbing is one of those emergency things that needs to be fixed now before it gets any worse. And the part of me that's having a lot of difficulty is whether or not freaking excuse me. Excuse me. Sorry. Whenever I sneeze, it's gonna come in cycles of 1, 2, 3, or more until I'm totally done. But I'm actually thinking about something me and my wife talked about is scaling back on the snakes. Maybe selling the babies, all of them, for the ones that we have left, for just basically a lower price. I don't know how hard it could be to sell a bunch of normals that are double hets. It's better than just a normal that's not het for nothing. But gotta get them moving. And I'm also thinking about reaching out to other people, other breeders, seeing if they might be interested in doing a partial collection sale and see if there's anything of my stuff that they might want. Because at this point, I don't know if I'll be able to do anything anymore. Because even though it only costs me just like maybe a few $100s just to have the food from them to eat, the snakes themselves, rats, mice, whether they're live or frozen thawed, it's not like it's costing me a lot, but I'm at the end of the day, freaking wondering whether or not freaking this venture, this hobby or anything is going to prove fruitful for me. And if it's not going to prove fruitful, then it's just going to cost money. And that money could be freaking money I could saved for emergencies and stuff like that. And it's kind of hard to have money set aside for emergencies there when I can't plan for emergencies at all because things just pop up and you never know what it's going to be or when it's going to happen or how it's going to happen. And it always seems to be my luck that things happen after I get done paying the bills and paying for the necessities. And that's not easy with somebody that only gets about maybe between VA disability and SSDI, maybe about a little bit over $3,000 a month. And 2/3 of that has to go to bills like rent, vehicle insurance, phone bills, internet, a lot of important stuff that we need to have in order to keep certain things rolling. And then there's the necessities like groceries and stuff like that, and food for the animals and stuff, and whatever have you. And I'm lucky to have even afterwards maybe a grand, maybe about less than that afterwards. Because I also got to take into account that one, I have to do a lot of driving, so I need to fill up on gas. And sometimes I have to freaking get stuff that technically aren't necessities. Like, for example, uh, my wife's a smoker, so I have to buy her cigarettes, and even the most cheapest cigarettes out there are not really that cheap. Even the name brand ones are even worse than the ones she is smoking on. Because my wife smokes Montegos, they're pretty cheap. They're like Eagles or Cheyennes. They're very cheap, but it's not like freaking buying Camels or Marlboros or American Spirits where you're paying in upwards of like $7 or $10 a pack. and maybe hundreds of dollars for a cart. But because in previous videos and shorts that I've posted, I've talked about wanting to scale back and everything. But I'm not quite sure whether I'm ready to scale back or how much I want to scale back. Do I want to hold off on breeding now? Yeah, I'm more concentrated on trying to get the animals, all the snakes, back on feeding now that the brumation cycle is over. Temperatures outside and inside the house are holding at. Oh, hold up, let me look at my thing here. Uh, Inside the room here, it's 73 degrees. That's pretty good internal temperatures now that spring is coming in full swing. And right now, all my thermostats for the rack systems here are reading anywhere between 88 and 89 degrees. So the adults should be waking up and wanting to eat. But right now, maybe one or two of them have eaten, and the babies are still eating. I just need everybody else to start eating. Uh, the boas, on the other hand, they're doing good. I probably should update on that. I no longer have reason to believe that Athena, yeah, Athena is gravid or anything. It's just that uh, I think she was just hugging closer to the warm side of her enclosure, hence making her body look a little bit more puffed out. Uh, and she was burrowing deeper and deeper through her substrate to get to the heat source. But when I took her out to give her a soak and clean out her substrate and everything, she did not look as big. So I have no reason now to believe that she might be gravid at all. And even though I don't have an ultrasound machine or know of anybody that has one of those things, there's no way I can actually confirm it. But due to the fact that she no longer looks as big as she was, then I have to pretty much say it's like, no, she's not gravid. Uh, Probably need to give her a meal here soon, seeing how the other ones have already eaten here recently. But uh, I'm probably going to put feelers out to a couple of Facebook groups that I'm on through the Facebook page for Meis Morphs. See if I can push out the little ones, and then, if necessary, start pushing out some of the other snakes to other projects, and the maybe just keep the ones like Phobos, Bijou, Noah, and Psyche, like the ones we started with, and then uh, just kind of push the rest out. I'm not too sure if I'll be able to get them. If I do that with the boas, that there's going to be any chance of anybody picking them up. Uh, I've already come to the conclusion that if I were to reduce my collection, that I'm not going to get exactly what I paid for every snake. I'm probably going to get less, or a lot less. Uh, it just kind of sucks. I mean, you get invested into something and you believe in it wholeheartedly, yet as you're trying to do it, all the other things that come up, whether it's personal stuff, uh, or things that are like totally out of your control and they're forced upon you, it really it really can grind a person down. It really, to me, I kind of feel like I'm failing even though I'm trying my hardest. And that I also feel that I may be wasting my time with this hobby that keeps me busy as a vet. because one of the ways I deal with my PTSD is having some involvement with animals because animals are a lot easier to deal with people. I, as much as I try, I'm not the best people person. I very much like to stick to myself. I'm a homebody. I only socialize with people that I think I can know or trust, and other times I just can't trust perfect strangers or anybody else. So I kind of gravitate towards animals, and I gravitated towards snakes because I wanted to get over my fear of them because of all my crappy experiences of being a Marine Corps kid at Cherry Point. Of all the kids that would screw around with copperheads, water moccasins, rattlesnakes, scaring the crap out of me. I wanted to own this fear by embracing, maybe not with venomous snakes or anything, but I wanted to embrace it through snakes that I knew I could handle, that were familiar or available. And part of me thinks I got a little bit overboard on it because when I started getting one, ended up getting another. That was the second snake. Snake was definitely for my wife, and got another one for my girl, my little girl, and started getting more. Then I got more and more ambitious. I'm starting to realize that maybe that ambition and that expenditure of funds, even though I acknowledge the fact that I am a COVID breeder, I got caught up in this stuff during the COVID lockdowns, just like a lot of people. I've managed to stick through it, but now I'm starting to realize that even though I've been good at keeping them and slightly successful at breeding, I'm realizing that maybe I've put my head out a little bit too far, and I can feel that kind of guillotine just gently resting on my neck, and I can feel how sharp it is. And I understand I might not ever get the time or the money back that I put into this. Oh, hey Ben, how's it going, man? But uh, I told myself that after this season, I would try just different methods as far as like just maintaining my hu- proper husbandry, uh, and just raising up the snakes, just getting them happy, fed, clean, healthy, and frequently socialized with. That way, they pretty much remain tame as far as handling goes. But because of the difficulties and all the issues that come with breeding and everything, uh, I'm thinking about stepping back from that, and just maintaining my snakes as they are as pets. And I figured that's probably the best thing that I could do. But I know I'm not like a whole bunch of other guys. Yeah, yeah, you're right about that, Ben. There are a lot of people that are like 10 years or even 30 or longer who have still got negative in their investment. Uh, yeah, it's definitely not easy. Uh, I don't think a single ball python I have, female wise, is going to be ovulating this year. I mean, if if one were to magically ovulate, I'm thinking it's going to be Mel Albino, who was the first one to give me a clutch last year. She's definitely got a lot bigger. She's definitely bounced back. But the one Mojave Possible Chocolate Het Orange Ghost, I've tried breeding her this time this year and still got nothing. So I don't know where. Wow, you're a hunt, dude. I hate to see her. Oh man. Oh, well, I'll tell you this much, man. All the stuff that I've invested in cash wise has been either out of my pocket when I've had the funds available. The one thing I have not done has been used credit cards. I've definitely not run up any lines of credit. I am very hesitant to use credit cards. I don't even have one at all. I mean, my bank card has a has a very is a Visa logoed for debit and credit on my bank card, but other than that, small file. And I have a relatively moderate credit score, but I'm not in the 600s. I'm like in the high 500s. But to be honest, if I were to give a ballpark estimation of how much I've invested into everything between changing out from having snakes and I hope you win. Uh, if I wanted to be in a ballpark estimate as far as like how much money I've spent in in getting stuff for the snakes, starting off, I know when it started off with just the 6 ball pythons, I probably spent more on the snakes than I did on their enclosures when they were in 20 or 30 gallon glass tanks. Uh, at that point, I think I only maybe spent just on that stuff alone, and then the snakes. I think in my first year, I spent maybe about $1,000, if that. My most expensive snake, ball python wise, was yeah. I'm having mixed results on breeding my own rats. I mean, uh, in the time that since I've been using these uh, breeding rack or breeding tubs from Reptile Basics, uh, I've only had on maybe a couple occasions within the last year. I've only had maybe there were a couple of rats I got from Wheeze and the Snakes from Michael Wazinski up in Hayes, which is just a few minutes drive north of where I live in Yorktown. Uh, I got a couple of rats from him a while back, and two of them were pregnant, and I didn't know that when I got them until they popped out a couple of litters of babies. That actually helped me out a little bit. But here recently, within the last couple of months, I've had 4 litters. Two of them were successful, where I still have the babies that are growing into, I think they're already small rats right now. And then I've had 2 other litters that did not last long because uh, you know, the issues with breeding rats is sometimes you get one of the rat strains that cannibalizes their babies. But uh, right now two, I've got 4 tubs here right here, these big ones here that have one breeding female and one breeding male per each. Then these small ones, I've got a couple of medium and small rats. Uh, I'm thinking I need to get maybe a couple more smaller ones, or I can get another set of the large ones. That way, that way I can have room for when I can swap out the weaned rats or small rats. That way, there's no overcrowding or eating of the babies and stuff like that. It'll be a lot easier. I'm definitely not having any luck with the mice or anything. Most of the mice I end up getting are from pet stores that have distributors that just give them uh, a lot of male mice and a lot of female mice. So, well, at least you get ASF rats, Ben. You're lucky you're in an area that allows for that. Uh, Here in Virginia, uh, we can't get ASFs at all because of non-native species. If they were to get out, like say, like somebody got them and then they got loose or they released them in the wild, there would be like one of those ecological issues, kind of like how like way back in the day when somebody introduced rabbits to Australia, the havoc that caused, or in more current, more local issues, how all the snakes that got loose due to a hurricane hitting Florida, thus causing all the retics and berms that got out into the Everglades and decimated the ecological population there. Yeah, it's a little bit odd. I think it's mostly because the Lacey Act, which has an effect here in the Commonwealth of Virginia. Uh, a lot of people, especially breeders, reptile wise, they have to do all their sales within the state at conventions and stuff like that. Or if they're lucky enough to go to Maryland or anywhere else where they can go up to and sell them there, uh, it really limits the ability for people to get their product out there because of interstate and interstate shipping stuff. So the Lacey Act really hampers the ability for snakes here in Virginia to get out of Virginia. I don't know if it affects anybody buying snakes from outside, like how how you've been able to sell snakes from where you're at in Ohio to as far as like where you mentioned to somebody in Florida who bought one of yours. But yeah, it's definitely not easy anymore. And it's not like where I'm at, we have a lot of competitors, but we do have a lot of big name people here. I think the biggest producer of ball pythons and maybe boas here is Conley Herps, and he's out there in Hampton, I think. Yeah, I definitely can't ship snakes out of state, and I definitely can't sell them to people that are coming into the state that will eventually move out of the state. So it makes it really difficult. Uh, I am feeling out to whether or not some of the pet stores here will want to buy some of the babies, like like uh like in mass, like a bulk sale. But it's just a matter of whether or not they have the space for it. Because last time I contacted one of them, uh, uh, it's definitely tough for business. I mean, uh, when I mentioned Facebook groups, like like uh one of them's like the 757 Hampton Roads, reptiles, amphibians, and whatever have you. There's a lot of people that are either hobby breeders that or just collectors and stuff like that, and some of them use those profiles in those groups to get some of their snakes out to people within the area in Hampton Roads. Mostly, I think it's mostly just breeders helping out breeders because they want to rejuvenate their stock for breeding purposes and stuff like that. But a lot of them are just people rehoming or quote unquote evicting their product out there so they can make room for anything else that they are working on getting or working on making. Excuse me, my throat's drying out a little bit because I'm I am not an avid talker, so me having extenuated conversations tends to work out my vocal cords a little bit, and I end up drying out. So I might end up having to get something to drink. But another thing that's actually really tough is not so much trying to sell snakes and everything to people. It's having to deal with the what people would be interested in, what they're actually willing to pay for a snake. And because we're in a recession and people aren't willing or don't have the necessary money to spend on things, especially if they're not the necessities or for bills. I mean, back before the pandemic and everything, people kind of had money they could throw away on something that was new and interesting, and they proved it even more when all that COVID money, all those stimulus checks kept coming out. But if I were to try to rehome or sell the five babies that I got that I produced, that are these beautiful, irregular looking normals that obviously may be double heads for hypo and albino, it shouldn't be too hard to move. But because interest waned as far as like what people want to follow, as far as like snakes, morphologies, and hets, or and stuff like that, they always gravitate towards what's new and colorful and all that other stuff. And I think that really screws up the business and the hobby a lot because I think, and this is something I've come to terms with, is like if people are chasing after these snakes with new patterns and it's based on a whole bunch of codominance or hets and stuff like that, I think people fail to realize that snakes like that, even though they're rare and they generate a lot of interest and they generate a lot of money, takes years to produce. Years. And even then, and you and I both know this, Ben, that getting the one all gene animal is exceedingly hard. I think that's why they say the odds gods are not always in our favor. A lot of the big name guys like Brian Barchak, Billy from Mutations Creations, and a couple other people that I used to follow on social media, but not anymore, would always say about their breeding projects and when they would do egg cuttings and they would try to see if they got that one big snake out of it. And that's one of the things I told myself I would never want to try to do. I don't want to be caught up in gene chasing or morphology chasing. I'm happy with just some basics. I mean, that's what I started off with basics. I started off with a pastel OD. Pastel and OD are like freaking like a powerhouse for foundation morph. It, it's almost in every of these multi-gene snakes out there, pastel and OD. It's like the foundation morph. If you don't have anything interesting that doesn't have pastel or OD in it, it's not freaking that big of a deal. And also, I started off with a Mojave, an albino, and I even started off with a black exanthic. And then I ended up getting the phantom, and then the only other snake I think I started off with that had multiple morphologies was what was the Mojave Lemon Blast. Yeah, that was the only snake that I had at one point, male wise, that was had multiple codoms in it. Yeah, it's definitely 3 to 500 eggs, and you still have to chase it. So that means you have to deal with all the excess babies that you're not going to keep, you're going to sell, and then all the snakes that you're going to hold back. Then you have to deal with the fact that one, you got to have the room for those things to grow up in, and then the time it takes for them to get up there and and size, weight, and whether they're actually going to be producing anything. So that's a lot of time to spend proving. what you produce. Yeah, to be honest, uh, to be very, very honest, I don't see anything wrong with having snakes that have like multiple heads or anything. I mean, yeah, they may look like normals, they may look like blank slates, but if it weren't for a normal carrying a gene or anything, we'd never know about some of these things that they could produce. A normal to me is like a blank palette. Breed it to something that has a whole bunch of fucking things going for it, and then all of a sudden drops a litter, then you get all this other stuff, and you may not even get them. I mean, to be honest, I kind of like the little normals that I have that I've created through the albino and the hypo pairing. I mean, hold up. I'll actually show you something. I'm just gonna pull out one of them that hasn't eaten yet, and possibly avoid getting bit. Oh, yeah. I mean, yeah. Oh, Canova can freaking buy a full warehouse. I'm There's no way in hell I can buy a warehouse. That's why I'm using this tiny little room that used to be my daughter's bedroom at one point. But it used to be my Lego room where I'd sit and build Legos for hours. But now it's a tiny little snake sanctuary for ball pythons and rats and incubation stuff and supplies. But this here's one of my females from the first litter. And she's one of actually one of three out of the five that has these weird saddles. And the only reason I think that if I could actually afford the genetic testing, if I were to do it, I'd have to do it once a month for each snake. But because the asymmetrical pattern of the snake's ringers and alien heads and other weird connected patterns, I have more reason to believe that she is a decent double hat, or at least hat for at least one of the things. But I gotta admit that I think I've I think I've produced some pretty good babies here, and they should be coming up on. Well, they were born in June, so what is it? Hold up. No, no. They were actually born around the end of July. That was mostly because of higher temperatures. They had a protected due date of August 2nd of 2023, but they showed up almost 10 days early, and I ended up getting three females and two males out of that clutch. Well, get in there, get in there, a girl. Well, If my estimates are correct, I'd say if anybody was actually trying to make triple or quad hets, I figured that would have to take it what maybe at least oh depending on what you're pairing and everything, it could take either 4 or 6 years at most, maybe even 10, depending on really depending on what snakes you're pairing and what they're het for, or if they're visuals for those hets. Mm. This right here is the better eater out of all of them. She's a little monster. This one right here definitely looks just like a regular normal, not like the other ones. She's clearly got little. She's actually the first one to take a rat. She's definitely up there in weight. She's definitely outpaced everybody. Uh, if anything freaking moves, it's probably definitely be the babies, but I'm not too sure if anybody's going to be just interested in them. I mean, at this point, I would settle for like $30 for the females and maybe 25 for the males. I think that's honestly fair given how much I've invested to them and how well they're doing. And it's not something that I think is going to break anybody's wallet. I mean, just buying the snake and everything, if they don't have to buy anything else, if they already have rack systems or if they already have tubs or vivariums or stuff like that. I mean, I honestly, if I were to do a collection sale, I'd be really selective about it because of I want to make sure that if I do a collection or a reduction of what I have, that the people know what they're getting into, have some experience with snakes, and that they have the stuff in hand to keep them safely. A good enclosure, vivarium, or similar rack system to what I've been using and what we all been using. But I don't know. It's just gonna be hard because I just want to avoid the hassle and tire kickers and stuff like that, and I want to be able to get myself out of these situations that I end up finding myself in because, li- like I said earlier when I start off, uh, I found myself in a unique situation where my vehicle needed a lot of work, and I was able to get the money from a family member that gave it to me as a gift because I had never asked them for anything before at all, where other family members have asked and got loans and they never paid back. Uh, but at least from this one relative that helped me out, I was able to get my vehicle fixed, keep it running, make sure it passed inspection, and all that stuff. Then, then I just now I'm dealing an issue with plumbing. Got a toilet issue where there might be a blockage, and plumbing repairs is not cheap at all. But the problem with that is because I'm not the homeowner, uh, I don't have that kind of money always laying around. And because the homeowner of this house is my father-in-law, it should really come down him to him to get these kind of things fixed. Because like I said before, there's no on paper agreement for us living here. It's just a spoken agreement. But it's definitely challenging to have a whole bunch of things pop up all at once, while at the same time knowing that I am already limited on funds as is, and I don't have all these financial investments in stock options, stuff like that. I mean, I wish I did. I wish I had that stuff. I wish I had it now, but I don't. And because the way things are economically now, those type of things are not within my reach. Because just like investing with snakes, you need to have the money on hand available to make investments in stocks. If you don't got those things, especially the money to do it, you really can't make money or anything else. You just kind of get stuck in the bubble where you're at. And that's kind of the predicament I find myself in, because I'm trying to raise a family, trying to keep us housed, fed, have ac- have access to things that we need in order to communicate or get to and from to A and B. And I don't know if it's just a run of bad luck, but something needs to change. And if I have to scale back on equipment or on the snakes I have, then maybe that's how I have to do it in order to deal with these things as they come up. But like I said, most of these things are out of my hand and they land on the lap of somebody else. It's just a matter of getting some things to be done in a prompt manner without causing any strife. And the last thing I want to do is cause any strife with family members, especially with family members that I'm married to. I don't know. I mean, if I have to quit all this and just keep only a few, I think I can be okay with that. Uh, does that affect everything else? It's more than likely going to affect being on YouTube and everything, because I feel like the way things are now, socially media wise, my first year on social media being serious last year, I already kind of peaked then, and just like with everybody else, Snake Channel wise, uh, it just kind of crashed when I don't know. I don't know why things crashed. People kind of really changed their minds about how they responded to breeders and people that did feeding videos and stuff like that. That it's kind of really changed real 180. I mean, I don't get as much grief about it, even though I don't post as much. I mean, God knows I post warnings for all my shorts when I show feedings and stuff like that. And I know Ben, you've did a couple of live feeding videos, and you stated like, "Hey, don't crucify me. I'm just doing what I need to do to keep my snakes happy and fed." But like me, you stayed in there while filming a video, making sure that the snakes were safe. And yeah, I know. Repeat, repeat, repeat. I mean, you've got a little bit. You got more snakes than I do, clearly, and we definitely see a lot. I definitely see a lot of your investment into the ball pythons. Uh, Believe it or not, I mostly watched your channel for the boas starting off, and that this was before you got like your ARS systems. Wow, you've been getting well because you are a bigger channel. I'm surprised you've gotten flagged or shut down or I actually haven't been reported yet at all. Maybe that's because I post warnings or stuff like that. And even though I use like audio clips, like music sounds and all that stuff from the YouTube music, yeah, people are definitely burnt out on ball pythons. I think people are also burnt out on boas because uh, I think people would gain an interest if there were something else coming out there. But uh, I don't know. Uh, I don't know if you would agree with me on this, Ben, but I'm just going to put it out there. I'm starting to think that most of the pushback that comes on people that are reptile breeders and they post on social media and stuff like that, I think the big pushback against us may actually have come from the big guys in the industry that have channels. I mean, well, well, I kind of agree with it. Agree with it. Well, your videos are somewhat entertaining, maybe in a small niche. I mean, I've had I've only been active on my channel since last year, and my wife had set it up 3 years ago. I just never started posting to it until last year. I mean, and by the end of that by the end of that year, I think I made my milestone of at least getting a thousand subscribers, and if I can recall some of my data correctly, right now I'm a little bit over 1,330 something subscribers now, but only like a couple hundred have actually made their subscription public and they comment frequently. And I think I've got a little bit over 800,000 views. Yeah, it's a weird unfair advantage. Somebody can actually start a channel and then get that big boom real kick. Well, it could be the algorithm so as they call it. It could also be the fact that one, you and me, kind of film ourselves on our cell phones or whatever have you. Uh, a lot of the bigger channels definitely have the video editing teams and whatever have you. They have a lot more computer savvy video editors, all that stuff, intro and outro videos, all that crap. They definitely, and because they have millions of hundreds of thousands of subs or million subscribers, and they've been, they actually have the monopoly of the views because they have the bigger reach, and because they're making YouTube money. Uh, 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 there's one other place you could possibly think about posting to that might not give you any issues. I believe the platform is called Rumble. Uh, they let you post pretty much everything or anything within reason, as long as it doesn't violate certain standards. But one of the channels that I was following that no longer seems to post on YouTube anymore, Moto's Danger Squad, he switched over from YouTube to posting on Rumble because uh, he was receiving death threats through his comment section and about uh, how mostly about probably due to related to his feeding videos and stuff like that, and also because uh, what he feeds, like rabbits and stuff like that, to his sperm or retics. He kept venomous snakes and everything, and I think he mostly got attacked because he had involved his son in some of the stuff. But his kid was never in any danger. He was always off screen or far away when he was doing stuff like that. But he was trying to teach his kids some appreciation for reptile ownership. Well, I think most the only reason why some people are still on YouTube is basically just to watch videos and keep up with stuff. I don't know if it's people are very fickle. I mean, they're fickle enough to follow the big names in the industry and latch onto their every word as if it was the God's honest, dogmatic truth, and that it is the only freaking way and there's no other way. And they are very quick to espouse the virtues of whatever they say. Like, oh, you need to do this. Oh, you need to go to Frozen Thawed. It's 2024. Live feedings are outdated and useless. I've heard so much stupid stuff from people that aren't in the hobby or say they've had snakes, but they feel free to comment on husbandry or how you feed them or what you feed them with almost impunity. I mean, I know I'm going to be quoting Mike Tyson on this one, but freaking social media created a freaking advent where freaking people can say anything without fear because they can't get punched in the freaking face. I mean, uh, even I've thought about switching over to Rumble, but I, I if I do that, it's going to take me a very, 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 very long time to download every last short, every last video that I've made in the last year and a half onto my computer and then re-upload it bit by bit on another channel or another platform. I, I think it might be just too difficult to do that anymore. But to be honest, I, when I started working on the channel and everything, I wasn't sure whether or not I'd actually be successful with it. I mean, I don't have the technological savvy for video editing, so I either just film lives or just make shorts and then compress the compress the video to fit a shorts frame for under 60 seconds and whatnot, or just make videos that are only within 5-10 minutes. Just keep it short, but enough to get somebody's attention for a couple of minutes until they decide to blither off and watch something else that caught their freaking fancy. But in some ways, I kind of am appreciative for the subscribers and the amount of views that I got to look at the first year. I mean, God knows I thought there were times when I was going viral when I got a couple of shorts that got me not just a couple hundred views or an easy 1,000 views. There's a couple of them that got me. There's a couple of them that got me high four-digit views and five-digit views, as far as like numbers with commas and then more numbers behind it. Excuse me, throat's drying up again. I mean, for those ones that actually took off the way they did, I'm I feel proud for those ones. Little thumbs up to myself for moderate success. But I know those types of videos, those types of views are a dream, a far cry and dream away anymore. I mean, I'm happy that freaking I've gotten as far as like in totality close to 1 million freaking views. I mean, I don't know many channels that get that far that quick. But ugh, I'm starting to think I just have to take things, the events that are popping up, uh, as they come, a few steps at a time. And if I have to shut down the channel or get rid of all the snakes and everything and all the equipment related to them, then maybe that's what I have to do. I mean, it's going to be tough. I don't like having to give up animals or lose animals. I, it kind of pulls on the heartstrings a little bit because you've had these animals for so long since they were babies and everything, and now they've kind of grown up with you, and you're attached to them. So I can't just look at them as product. They are part of my existence, and it's going to take a part of me away from myself when I have to sell them or give them to other people and maybe never see them again except in videos or in images and stuff like that. And that's always gonna freaking pull at those heartstrings a little bit. It's like I miss my snake, I miss my animals and all stuff like that. And if I do that, freaking, there's gonna be a part of me that will always feel like a failure. It's like I got invested in something and and tried my hardest, succeeded as much as I failed, and now I have to now I have to think about giving it up. And if I give it up, the only debt I have is the time that I can't get back or the amount of money I put into it. But it is what it is. I mean, it just kind of sucks. Oh wow, I have gone well past an hour. I think this would actually be the longest live I've ever done at all. And it's probably the longest I've ever talked to any amount of people, viewers or people commenting on the screen as it shows up or anything like that in a very long time. I guess I guess there's some progress in that because I'm not really good at public speaking or public engagement. So I just kind of I'll talk to a few people, then I'm just gonna sit my butt back down and you know cross my arms, sip on a drink, and just kind of like quietly observe. That's pretty much kind of how I am. PTSD really limits me to as far as like how much I can go out into the world and people with people. Well, might as well close up this live and worry about what I gotta do tomorrow because depending on how things go might dictate how things progress with dealing with these problems I'm here having here at the house with the plumbing and all that stuff and getting that fixed. Because it's gonna be a bit of an issue if somebody says something about it. And I don't want I do not want a molehill becoming a mountain because of other people. But I'm gonna finish it off here to the point where you know, might as well wait the additional 10 seconds for it to click off at 105. But I want to say thanks for the views. Thanks for people commenting. Thanks to Ben for being here to talk with me on certain things. But this is Robert from Meis Morphs signing off, and I hope you all have a good evening and a better week than what I'm having. Later.